Hi everyone, Melody here again, and I'm here to share with you a teacher tidbit. I'm going to walk you through how to create an interactive Nearpod lesson. And those of you that know me, you know I love my Nearpod. So if you've never created one but would like to learn how, stay tuned. I'm going to show you. So we're here in my Nearpod library, and you can see that I made some folders. Um, so that I can organize my lessons according to when I teach them. So we're going to go over two things today. One, I'll show you real fast how to make those folders so that you can keep your library nice and organized. And then two, I'm also going to walk you through how to create your own interactive lesson. So first, I'll just quickly show you. In order to add a folder, you're going to click on this arrow and you can add a folder. Now, also notice this is a newer feature on Nearpod, but you can actually color code your folders, which is kind of fun. I personally love color coding, so this is kind of a great way to stay organized. All right, now I'm going to walk you through how to create your own lesson. So I'm going to go ahead and go right up here to create, and you have a few different options here. One, you can create a lesson directly in Nearpod. Two, you can create a lesson in Google Slides with the Nearpod add-on. But please note, if you do that, it's totally fine. It's going to be great. However, you do have to save that Google Slides lesson into Nearpod so your students will be accessing it through the Nearpod platform rather than just a Google Slide. And your third option is a video. So this is a really cool new feature where you can upload a movie file or an MP4, and you can actually add stopping points in the video so that kind of like a check for understanding while your kids are watching, whether it's a video that you created using Screencastify, a recording of yourself, or even a downloaded video that you have. Now, please note that due to safety protocols in our district, you cannot use a YouTube video. Your students will not be able to watch those on campus. However, what I have found to be kind of a go around is as long as you've watched the video prior and you know that it's safe for students, you can actually use a Screencastify, record the video, save that Screencastify as an MP4, and then upload it that way. So that's kind of a go around as long as you've watched the entire video and know it's safe for students. So I'm going to go ahead for the purposes of this how-to. I'm going to open up a new lesson. And I'm just going to walk you through some of the interactive features. So I'm going to add a slide. And you can see here, I just want to point out there are a lot of different ways that you can add content. Now, for the purposes of this how-to, I'm actually going to kind of just skip over this part because I really want to focus on the activities. All right, so I'm going to walk you through each of these activities. Let me start with kind of my favorites. So these are my go-to that I've used with both primary students and upper grade students. So I'm going to start with the draw it slide. Now this, if I had to choose one go-to slide for Nearpod, this would be it, because there's a million different ways that you could use this slide. So if you want a quick way to do some intervention, especially IBA and hybrid teachers, I would actually not even put a background image on this slide and just use it as a digital whiteboard. So when I do win time at the end of my day. I'm currently teaching hybrid. So at the end of my day, I do win time with students that perhaps need some math support. All I do is I create a lesson with this single slide. I don't put anything on it. And then I share that lesson link with students. In my Zoom chat, I give them a math problem and they show me how they would solve it on this digital whiteboard. So that's a really quick and easy way to use Nearpod. Now, some other ways that I've used that draw it slide is you can absolutely put a background. So for instance, if you're a primary grade teacher and you want students to practice reading words with whatever phonics skill you're working on. I would take just a screenshot or even save a PowerPoint slide or a Google slide as an image file, and then I would upload it to the Draw It slide, and then my students would be able to highlight the target sound before reading. For upper grade teachers, a way to use this Draw It is, of course, like I mentioned, our math intervention just as a digital whiteboard. But another way to use it is for annotation. So if you have even if it's a paper passage, for instance, go ahead and either take a picture with your phone, or if you have an electronic version, you're going to go ahead and just upload it into the Draw It slide. And then your students will have access to the pen tool, the highlighter tool, text tool, so they can go ahead and annotate that passage. Let's look at a different option. So another go-to that I use quite often are open-ended questions. So what I really like is they actually added this very recently, which is exciting. But you can see here that there's a lot of choices. You can put some subscript, you can change the font, the color, underline, so bullet points. So this is a really nice way to communicate whatever question you want your students to answer. Now, this, of course, typing response is more geared toward our upper grade students, but primary teachers, have no fear. There is an option for you. So you can actually enable student recordings. So if you wanted your students to answer some discussion prompt, and maybe they're not quite very quick typers, you can actually enable the student recording so that they can speak their answer into the recording. And I recommend, especially if you're working with non-readers, go ahead and just record a video of yourself, put it in here so that your students can hear the question and then verbally respond to the question. Now, I do want to point out that this feature is only available for laptops, Chromebooks. It is not available for iPads. So if your students are using tablets, last I checked, as of maybe 1 or 2 months ago, we did not have the ability to have students record on iPads. But their Chromebooks should work just fine. So you can see every time I'm adding a slide that it just kind of adds to my lesson. And you can, of course, always change the order. You could copy and paste, anything that suits your needs. So let's go ahead and look at another one of my kind of go-to interactive elements here. So I am going to do matching pairs. So this is like any other matching game, but I use it for things like vocabulary. Match a vocab word to the definition. Or, especially for younger kids, match the vocab word with a picture. This could also be great for our EL students if they're working on their vocabulary acquisition. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Add Pair. And you can see that you can either add text or an image. So again, this is great for both upper grade and primary. Upper grade vocabulary, I use this quite often. I often use it for equivalent expressions or equations in math. So, for instance, we're learning the distributive property right now. So I may put the simplified expression and then the more lengthier expression, and they have to match the expressions. For our younger kids, I highly recommend using the images. So if you put a word and a picture, and then they have to read the word and find the matching picture. And just some things that you can, play around with if you so choose. Of course, you can add some instructions. You can also add a timer. So this might be something you consider. For instance, if you want your kids to practice their facts, their math facts, you can add a timer. All right. Let's go ahead and take a look at, I want us to take a look at a couple more activities. One is the collaboration board. So this board is very cool. Basically what happens is you type in a question, a description if you would like, add an image, choose the background, and this option allows students to put a post-it note. So this is essentially like a digital bulletin board. So when students go on either in a live lesson with you or if they're doing a lesson independently, they can leave a post-it note to a question. So there's a million ways to use this. I've used this for math talks, for instance, so we can discuss as a class how the different ways to solve any given problem. I've used it often for vocabulary. If we have a vocab list or vocabulary perhaps that students have identified from a passage earlier in the lesson, then I would ask them to choose one of those vocab words, share their definition, and a picture to go with it. I will say that even though I have used it a couple of times for primary students, I highly recommend it more for upper grade. I find that it's a little bit too cumbersome to have students posting to this type of collaboration board. It's a little bit easier for them, for younger students, to use something like Jamboard if you were looking for that. All right, so I also want to point out we have a quiz. I'm not actually going to open this up. It's pretty straightforward. It's a multiple choice question. You type in the question, you type in the options, and then those are self-grading. So as a teacher, this is a great way to check for understanding at the end of any lesson. But I do actually want to open up Time to Climb because this is my go-to for exit tickets. Now, those of you who have never used Time to Climb, it is so engaging. So basically, every student gets a character. They answer questions, multiple choice questions, and they earn points to race up the mountain. Now, if you're doing this during a live lesson, whether it's in class or via Zoom, the students will actually race each other. And at the end of the game, they award a first, second, and third place. If you're doing this asynchronously, so your students are completing the lesson on their own, and that can be either during distance learning or if you're looking for something for literacy centers or math centers, go ahead and just assign them a lesson. And then at the end, they will still have the opportunity to race up the mountain. Um, they will see students who have participated before them. So it's kind of like everyone is part of the race, but they're all racing at their own time. So I'm just going to walk you through how to set up these questions. You're going to type your question here. Type in your answers, 1, 2. Maybe you want to add a third or a fourth answer. And you're going to choose which answer is correct. Now, a couple other options you have. You can put a reference image. This is especially great for younger readers, or non-readers, I should say, if they need that reference. For upper grade, I often put, if you have like a digital anchor chart or some kind of reminder or a vocab term, you can put it there to help remind your students, give them a helpful hint for the question. You can also change the time, how long your students get to answer each question. And one more feature, this is especially useful for primary, is you can use images instead. So again, if you're working on a target phonics skill, perhaps you're going to type in a word that has that phonics skill, and then you're going to select images. So students will read the word and choose the picture to go with the word. Or vice versa. Students will see a picture and reference image, and then they will find the word or sentence that matches that picture. All right, so that was Nearpod creation in a nutshell. There are so many features and opportunities with Nearpod, so it's really hard to fit them in just a quick video. If you have any questions or want to dive deeper, let me know. I absolutely love Nearpod. I have created literally hundreds of lessons. So if you're looking for something specific, I'm happy to share it with you. Or if you want to learn a little more on how to create your own, let me know. I'd be happy to meet with you. Thanks for watching.